Welcome back to video number 2 for this Saturday morning. This is our palate cleanser. This is when we're discussing the working royals. We have a lot to cover today, so let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We are going to start off with Princess Anne. She visited the Rowan Glen Yogurt Factory in Wigtown, Scotland. This took place on October 24th. She unveiled a fabulous plaque as usual, and also there was a guest book that she signed. All right, let's move on, but sticking with Princess Anne. The West Cumberland Hospital in Whitehaven got completely redone and revamped, and the Princess Anne, showed up to officially open the new facilities. She is the patron of the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. She went through the facility. She chatted to patients and some of the occupational therapy staff from the Foundation Trust about the new facilities. She met with the Trust's chair, Stephen Morgan, but she was escorted around by Joni Mitchell, which is the Trust's head of occupational therapy. So it looks like she went and had a fabulous time. Now, this new facility has a gym, a courtyard with access to a challenge path, and a kitchen to prepare patients for returning home after they've been in the hospital. She also met the Trust's very first occupational therapy apprentices, as well as the University of Cumbria OT students that are there on leadership placements. I love this kind of stuff. Good for her. Let's move on to King Charles. He met with the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon, at the Heads of Government reception that took place at the Tumasia Island Resort, which is Samoa's only island resort, located just outside of Apia. Is it Keir? Is that how you say his name? Keir Starmer, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, was also there at that reception. Now, as the day went on, King Charles met the CHOGM delegates while he was at the King's Garden at the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum in Apia. He got to meet the national bird of Samoa in a way, which is the tooth-billed pigeon. And then they took him to a specific spot in the King's Garden where he unveiled a plaque and then he planted a tree. The garden, by the way, was in the shape of a crown. How cool is that? I want you all to remember this is day 6 of the Australian/Samoan tour. I have to say that this leg of the tour seems to be going beautifully without a hiccup. The King, I don't know, maybe it's the fresh air, maybe it's the food, but the King looks really healthy here, much better than he did before he left for the trip, in my opinion. While this was going on, Queen Camilla went and visited the SVSG Campus of Hope and opened the Queen Camilla Preschool of Hope. I love that. For those of you who don't know, SVSG has their mission to raise awareness and educate young people. They're trying to prevent violence against women and girls. A very worthy cause, and I think it's really sweet that it's in Camilla's name. All right, let's move on. So King Charles was opening the ceremony for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Apia. We had heard that that was going to happen, and we also had been told ahead of time that he was going to be talking about slavery reparations at this summit. People were absolutely shocked by that, believe it or not, and there was a lot of discussion about whether he should or shouldn't do it. I think it's wonderful that he wants to bring that up on itself, but I also acknowledge the fact that Britain took out a loan like hundreds of years ago to free the slaves, and I think they just finished paying it off. Yeah. So anyway, he told the world leaders that, quote, none of us can change the past, but that nations can commit to finding creative ways to right inequalities that endure. There you go. He said that while he was speaking to leaders and dignitaries from the 56 Commonwealth nations. Camilla was there with him, and now the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, that's the CHOGM, and it's being held biannually, so I love the way he did this. He used his first address to this summit to, quote, find the right ways and the right language to address contemporary problems that are rooted in the past. Now, we know this whole row over reparations gained momentum after renewed calls from some members of Britain to pay compensation for historical roles of slavery. So I don't know what they're going to do. I will say that Prince Albert gave an apology, Queen Victoria's husband. It seems like every generation, new generation wants an apology. But you guys should know that Britain ended slavery. In 1807, the Abolition Act banned the direct purchase of people from Africa. In 1833, the Slavery Abolition Act freed all slaves in British domains. The West African Squadron patrolled the Atlantic from 1808 to 1870, capturing slave ships and freeing 160,000 captives. Britain made treaties with African rulers. They seized Portuguese slave ships. I mean, what more can you do? Well, that night they had the official dinner for the Commonwealth heads of government, and people were saying that King Charles was, and I'm quoting, he was owning it. And that he was outshining even Camilla because he was in the island-themed dress. Woo! This event took place on the grounds of the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum, and they're saying that they had a team fly in from Buckingham Palace to organize it with the help of the Samoan chefs. And very interesting. Anyway, they arrived at the front of the museum. They were greeted by the master of the household, Vice Sir Admiral Tony Johnson Burt. And then, of course, they met the Samoan Prime Minister, and then they received the heads of government while they were on the veranda. On and on it went. And he later on told people, the king did, in his speech, that it was his lifelong aspiration to visit all 56 countries in the Commonwealth. But because of the ever-expanding number and the doctor's orders, he has not yet achieved it. Now, this was his final night in Samoa, and he spoke very affectionately for the family of the nation, saying that, he just loved it there. I bet he did. Now, this dinner, which again, it was overseen by staff from Buckingham Palace, and so they did not refer to it as a banquet because it had 3 courses rather than 4. But apparently they really excelled in the decorations. They had the wooden hand-carved bowls used in the preparation of the beverage made from the roots of the ava plant. Remember, we talked about that. They had the ava ceremony with the king the day before. The border design around the table signified the Commonwealth heads, of 2024 to strengthen society and people, etc., etc. They had round table centers known as sapo. They were printed with paper mulberry using traditional pattern boards. I mean, they apparently went all out to really just make it gorgeous. The guests ate locally sourced food, and they're saying that due to the health concerns for the king, because he's expected to resume his cancer treatment, the dinner was the only late night engagement of this long trip for him. And listen, he's going back and he's going to restart his chemo and he's going to be fine. Good for them. I think everybody looked absolutely fabulous. Good trip, Charles. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box after you've left your comments, and you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my Patreon, which is currently paused, my Amazon wish list, and a physical address. For those who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.